fit into the master program?
So the Human Rights Norms course is one of the foundation courses. It's where the students learn what a human rights is. It's what we call standards. These are like the laws, and it's about in each human right, what's the main element of that right, and what is a right and what isn't a right, because often students everyone gets confused thinking that lots of things are human rights and they're not. So that's the key part, that students go through the main treaties and the main rights and know the content of that. The next thing is it's also a survey course, and so we look at human rights in a number of areas, and that includes migrant workers, women, children, rights in the workplace, civil rights and political rights and so on. So it's quite broad in terms of the main areas they learn human rights.
What are the objectives of the course? What can the student expect to get at the end of it, and how will you teach it?
So the main objective, of course, is the students know what human rights are. When they graduate, they're going to know clearly what is a right and what the key elements of those rights are. Another main objective is they can learn how to apply those rights into real life situations. They know that in these particular circumstances, these are the relevant rights and these are how they are applied. And also these are the kind of mechanisms that can be used to apply rights to that situation. So how this course is mainly taught is it's based on a lecture. So we have every week we have experts coming along from these areas to talk about that specific area of human rights, whether it's torture or migrant workers or women's rights. And then we also have tutorials where in smaller groups students can engage more closely with an understanding of those rights and kind of talk about some debates and discussions about those rights. Because often human rights is a little bit controversial or open to arguments, particularly in areas like, say, women's rights and children's rights and rights around sexuality.
What are the challenges for the student in taking this course?
So this course is quite multidisciplinary, as is the whole program. Students have to know a little bit about law, a little bit about politics, a little bit about philosophy, a little bit about development, peace, and so on. So students have to be flexible in their learning and understanding. So that's one area. It's important that this is not a law degree, and human rights are not primarily legally focused. Though law is an important part of that, the law is going to occur, you approach it differently in different ways. And so in this course, you have to have some of that flexibility. Another key challenge is that students really have to know the rights. You've got to know the content. And so you can't get by with just arguing about what a right is. Often you have to kind of know the details of what the content is. And so there is a lot of stuff to kind of remember or to know, and sometimes students find that challenging.
Then how can the student best prepare for the course?
So in terms of preparation, it's good if students basically know the 9 treaties and some rights in them. We don't expect students to memorise treaties and to come here fully informed about it. We're just having that basic groundwork of knowing what some human rights are, what are the main treaties, and where, how to understand these treaties as well. Of course, this course in particular looks in much more detail about the treaties, but it helps if students feel that they know a bit about the layout of human rights when they first come. It can help if students have a bit of an understanding of what international human rights means in terms of the United Nations. Again, we cover that in the course, but when students, if they've got some spare time to prepare for that, it means they'll find it a lot easier to kind of start the course knowing some of these important issues.
And how does this course benefit the student future career?
So anyone who's going to work in human rights really has to know the treaties. They've got to know what they mean, what they are, what the key elements are. And so this is one of that kind of basic knowledge about human rights is very important. Another critical area is that it's also talking about rights-based approaches. Because this program is not just about developing human rights defenders and activists. It's about people who may work in the government, they may work as a teacher, as a librarian, as even a gardener or whatever. They could do any kind of job, but human rights is relevant to all those jobs. If they involve humans, you have human rights. And so this is why it's kind of good that the people can return back to their careers with a knowledge of human rights and with a kind of rights-based approach to their work. And so they can address issues of, say, non-discrimination or equality or rights to participation in whatever workplace they're at. And that's where it's relevant.
Thank you, John.